I'm Lily. Today I'm going to read you the story 샬롯 Swap, Chapter 19. The Accent. Yesterday I told you I read the Call of the Evening and 샬롯 was making something at night. And now let's see. 샬롯 Swap, Chapter 19. The Accent. Next morning, when the first light came into the sky and the sparrows stirred in the trees, when the cows rattled their chains and the rooster crowed and nearly all the mobiles went whistling along the road, Wilbur awoke and looked for Charlotte. He saw her up overhead in a corner near the back of his pen. She was very quiet. Her 8 legs were spread wide. She seemed to have shrunk during the night. Next to her, attached to a ceiling, Wilbur saw a curious object. It was a sort of sack or cocoon. It was peach-colored and looked as though it were made of cotton candy. This is Wilbur, so I think it's Charlotte's accent, great art. Are you awake, Charlotte? He said softly. Yes, came in the answer. What is that nifty little thing? Did you make it? Yes, I did. Yes, I did, indeed, replied Charlotte in a weak voice. Is it a plaything? Plaything? I should say not. It is my accent, my magnum opus. I don't know what a magnum opus is, said Wilbur. That's Latin, replied Charlotte. It means great work. This accent is my great work, the finest thing I have ever made. What's inside it? Asked Wilbur. Eggs? 514 of them, she replied. 514? said Wilbur. You are kidding. No, I'm not. I counted them. I got started counting, so I kept on just to keep my mind occupied. It's a perfectly beautiful accent, said Wilbur, feeling as happy as though he had constructed it himself. Yes, it is pretty, replied Charlotte, patting the sack with her 2 front legs. Anyway, I can guarantee that it is strong. It is made out of the toughest material I have. It is also waterproof. The eggs are inside and will be warm and dry. Charlotte, said Wilbur dreamily, are you really going to have 514 children? If nothing happens, yes, she said. Of course, they won't show up till next spring. Wilbur noticed that Charlotte's voice sounded sad. What makes you sound so downhearted? I should think you'd be terribly happy about this. Oh, don't pay any attention to me, said Charlotte. I just don't have much pep anymore. I guess I feel sad because I won't ever see my children. What do you mean you won't see your children? Of course we will all see them. It's going to be simply wonderful next spring. In the barn cellar with 514 eggs, 14 baby spiders running around all over the place, and the geese will have a new set of goslings, and the sheep will have their new lambs. Maybe, said Charlotte quietly. However, I have a feeling I'm not going to see the results of last night's efforts. I don't feel good at all. I think I'm languishing. To tell you the truth, Wilbur didn't understand the word languish, and he hated to bother Charlotte by asking her to explain. But he was so worried he felt he had to ask, what does languishing mean? It means I'm slowing up, feeling my age. I'm not young anymore, Wilbur, but I don't want you to worry about me. This is your big day today. Look at my web. Doesn't it show up well with the dew on it? Charlotte's swap never looked more beautiful than it looked this morning. Each strand held dozens of bright drops of early morning dew. The light from the east struck it and made it all plain and clever. It was a perfect piece of designing and building. In another hour or 2, a steady stream of people would pass by, admiring it and reading it. It looked at Wilbur, and looking at Wilbur, and marveling at the miracle. As Wilbur was studying the web, a pair of whiskers and a sharp face appeared. Slowly Templeton dragged himself across the pen and threw himself down in a corner. I'm back, he said in a husky voice. What a night! The rat was swollen twice his normal size. His stomach was as big around as a jelly jar. I don't know where Templeton is, but he is bigger. Look at this, Templeton. Templeton was very smart, I think. What a night, he repeated hoarsely. What fasting and carousing! A real gorge! I must have eaten the remains of 30 lunches. Never I have such livings, and everything well ripened and seasoned with the passage of time and the heat of the day. Oh, it was rich, my friends, rich! You ought to be ashamed of yourself, said Charlotte in disgust. It would serve you right if you had an attack of indigestion. Oh, don't worry about my stomach, snarled Templeton. I can handle anything. He can handle anything. And by the way, I've got some bad news. As I came past the pig next door, the one that calls himself Uncle, I noticed a big blue tack on the front of his pen. That means he has won first prize. I guess you're licked, Wilbur. You might as well relax. Nobody's going to hang any medal on you. Furthermore, I wouldn't be surprised if Gentleman changed his mind about you. Wait till he gets hankering for some fresh pork and smoked ham and crisp bacon. He will take the knife to you, my boy. But still, Templeton said shortly, you're too stuffed and bloated to know what you're saying. Don't stop and bloated to know what you're saying. Don't pay any attention to him, Wilbur. Wilbur tried not to think about what the rat had just said. He decided to change the subject. Templeton, said Wilbur, if you weren't so droppy, you would notice that Charlotte has made an accent. She's going to become a mother. For your information, there are 514 eggs in that peach little sack. Is this true? asked the rat, eyeing the sack surprisingly. Yes, it is true, sighed Charlotte. Congratulations, murmured Templeton. This has been a night. He closed his eyes, pulling some straw over himself. He dropped off into a deep sleep. Wilbur and Charlotte were glad to be rid of him for a while. At 9 o'clock, Mr. Arable truck rolling into the fairgrounds and came to a stop at Wilbur's pen. Everybody climbed out. Look, cried Fun. Look at Charlotte's swab. Look what it says. The grown-ups and the children joined hands and stood there studying the new sign. Humble, said Mr. Zuckerman. Now isn't that just the word for Wilbur? Everyone rejoiced to find the miracle of the web has been repeated. Wilbur guessed of lovely into their faces. He looked very humble and very grateful. Firm faces. Fern winked at Charlotte. Lurvy soon got busy. He poured a bucket of warm slops into the throat, and while Wilbur ate his breakfast, Lurvy scratched gently with a smooth stick. Wait a minute, cried Avery. Look at this. He pointed to the blue tack on Uncle's pen. This pig has won first prize already. The Jokerman and Arable stared at the pig. Mrs. Jokerman began to cry. Nobody said a word. They just stared at the tag. Then they stared at Uncle. Then they stared at the tag again. Lurvy took out an enormous handkerchief and blew his nose very loud, so loud in fact that the noise was heard by stable boys over at the horse barn. Can I have some money? asked Fern. I want to go out on the midway. Stay right where you are, said her mother. Tears came to Fern's eyes. What's everybody crying about? asked Mr. Jokerman. Let's get busy. It is bring the buttermilk. Mrs. Jokerman wiped her eyes with her handkerchief. She went to the truck and came back with a gallon jar of buttermilk. Bedtime, said Jokerman cheerfully. He and Mrs. Jokerman and Avery climbed into Wilbur's pen. Avery poured buttermilk on Wilbur's head and back, and as it trickled down his sides and cheeks, Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman rubbed it into his hair and skin. Presently stopped to watch. Pretty soon quite a crowd had gathered. Wilbur grew beautifully white and smooth. The morning sun shone through his pink ears. "He isn't as big as the next pig next door," remarked one bystander, "but he's cleaner. That's what I like." "So do I," said another man. "He's humble too," said a woman, reading the sign out on the web. Everybody who visited the pig pen had a good word to say about Wilbur. Everyone admired the web, and of course nobody noticed Charlotte. Suddenly a voice was held on the loudspeaker. "Attention, please," it said. "Will Mr. Homer Zuckerman bring his famous pig to the judges, both in front of the grandstand? A special award will be made 3 in 20 minutes. Everyone is invited to attend." "Crate your pig, please, Mr. Zuckerman, and report to the judge's booth promptly." For a moment after this announcement, the Arabs and the Zuckermans were unable to speak or move. Then Avery picked up a handful of straw and threw it high in the air and gave a loud yell. The straw fluttered down like confetti into Fawn's hair. Mr. Zuckerman hugged Mrs. Zuckerman. Mr. Arable kissed Mrs. Arable. Avery kissed Wilbur. Lurby shook hands with everybody. Fawn hugged her mother. Avery hugged Fawn. Mrs. Arable hugged Mrs. Zuckerman up overhead in the shadows of the ceiling. Charlotte crouched unseen, her front legs unclining her exit. Her heart was not beating as strongly as usual, and she felt really annoyed, but she was sure at last that she had saved Wilbur's life, and she felt peaceful and contented. Look at this. Everybody's happy. "We have no time to lose," shouted Mr. Zuckerman. "Lurvy, help with the crate." "Can I have some money?" asked Fawn. "You wait," said Mrs. Arable. "Can't you see everybody is busy? Put that empty buttermilk jar into the trough," commanded Mr. Arable. Avery grabbed the jar and rushed to the truck. "Does my hair look all right?" asked Mrs. Zuckerman. "It looks fine," and snapped Mr. Zuckerman as he and Lurby set the crate down in front of Wilbur. You didn't even look at my hair," said Mrs. Zuckerman. "You're all right, it is," said Mrs. Zuckerman. Mrs. Arable. Sorry. Just keep calm. Templeton, asleep in the straw, heard the commotion and the walk. He didn't know exactly what was going on, but when he saw the man shoving Wilbur into the creek, he made up his mind to go along. He watched his chance, and when no one was looking at him, crept into the crate and buried himself in the straw at the bottom. "All ready, boys," cried Mr. Zuckerman. "Let's go." He and Mr. Arable and Lurby and Avery grabbed the crate and busted it over the side of the pen and up into the truck. Fawn jumped aboard and sat on top of the crate. She still had straw in her hair and looked very pretty and excited. Mr. Arable started the motor. Everyone climbed in, and off they drove to the judge booth in front of the grandstand. As they passed the Fairy's Fern gazed up at it and wished she were at the topmost car with Henry Fussy at her side. Bye!